Right, so now we have completed our step 9 direction. We also read the promises of step 9, which is not the promises of the big book, merely the step 9. We're going to see now and go through our step 10.
This thought brings us to step 10.
Stop. Can you highlight step 10 and can you write on the margin and use your special color obviously for your step 10. Step 10, what is the principle of step 10? Perseverance. So I suggest that when you go through the steps in the big book, have a printout of the principle. Read them through also as you go through the step to really give you the chance to understand why we have the principle and why we should practice them.
Which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along.
Very important. Can you highlight? Which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistake as we go along. And here, as you can see, it doesn't say we suggest we continue to take personal inventory at night and continue to set right any new mistakes. It's telling us we need to take personal inventory and continue to do the work. Okay, so we do that during the day. So what it means basically is we continue to check for defect of character, for resentment, and we do sort of a mini step 4 throughout the days. We catch ourselves. Go ahead.
We vigorously commence this way of living as we cleaned up the past.
Very important. Can you highlight it? We vigorously commence this way of living as we clean up the past. Very often I've heard, again in meetings, people say, well, you need to complete your step 9 and make all of your amends until we can crack on with step 10. That's clearly not the case. If we read this again, we vigorously commence this way of living. So we vigorously commence to practice step 10 as we do our step 9, as we make our amends, as we clean up the past. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so do not stop. When you work with others, ask them to make their yes, all of the yes first, and then speak to them for the maybes and the no's. Guide them on how to make the amends for the maybes and the no's. But at the same time, crack on with step 10, 11, and 12.
We have entered the world of the spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. This is not an overnight matter. It should continue for our lifetime. Continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear.
Okay, different color. Can you please use? This is not. Can you please highlight in one color? This is not an overtime matter. It should continue for a lifetime. Continue to watch for, and then you use different colors. Selfish, one color. Dishonesty, another color. Resentment, another color. And fear. And these are part of your step 4. These are the things we've acknowledged in your step 4. So you're going to have to acknowledge all of these throughout the day. And remember, you are new to all of this. So you're not going to be able to master it perfectly well. You're going to make mistakes and it's okay. It is just as it should be.
When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. We discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone. Then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help.
Stop, can you highlight? Then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help.
Love and tolerance of others is our code. And we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. For by this time, sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in alcohol. If tempted, we recoil from it as from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally, and we find that this has happened automatically. We will see that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. That is the miracle of it. We are not fighting it, neither are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we have been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We are neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is our experience. That is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition.
Very good. So can you please highlight all of this? And we're going to go through this paragraph because it's very important. So we started, and we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, and highlight all the way to that is our experience. This is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual conditions. My name is Billy Richard. I'm a recovered alcoholic. What does that mean to be recovered? It means that the obsession of the mind has been removed. The obsession of the mind should have been removed by now, right? So, what is really interesting about this paragraph also is a lot of people talk about handing over our will and our life on step 3. And they think that we need to hand over our will and our life for the rest of our lives. That's not the case either. You hand over your will and your life from step 3 to step 10. On step 10, you get it back. And this is where it's going to show up. So what I'd like you to do, could you please take a pen and underline, sanity will have returned. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. On step 10, we're being told, sanity will have returned. You've been restored to sanity. It also said, we react sanely and normally. Then can you underline, we are not fighting it. Neither are we avoiding temptation. Can you also underline, safe and protected? And then underline underneath, the problem has been removed. So what part of the problem that has been removed? Tell me, what is the problem?
The obsession has been removed.
The obsession of the mind has been removed. The physical allergy cannot be removed. Because like the peanuts, you're always going to be allergic to alcohol or drugs. However, the obsession to pick up without a solution will have been removed. You might have a few desires, but now you have a program of recovery. You're going to know exactly what you need to do when you have a desire. And can you please highlight the final line? That is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. What does it mean? How do we stay?
Practice is designed for living.
That's right. Practice the design for living. You carry the message and you practice the principle and the action. Asset. Thank you. So now you are recovered. That's what it means to be recovered. The problem is gone. The obsession of the mind should have been removed. And you have to practice the design for living. By the way, this is your step 10 promises.
It is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. We are headed for trouble if we do, for alcohol is a subtle foe. We are not cured of alcoholism.
Stop. We're not cured of alcoholism. So what are we not cured of?
The physical allergy.
The physical allergy. We're not cured of alcoholism because we will always have the physical allergy. We do not have a cure for that. But now we have a design for living when we have a desire. The obsession has been removed. We might have a few desires, but we have a design for living, which is we carry the message to other people, we practice the principle and the assets.
What we really have is a daily reprieve, contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition.
That's right. Practice the design for living. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. If you continue to practice your assets, the principles of the program, and you carry the message, you cannot possibly go back to active addiction. It's impossible. I have never seen anybody who practiced the design for living go back into active addiction. Never seen it. However, if you don't practice the design for living, you don't carry the message, you don't practice the principle, and you act on your defect of character, the chances are you're going to start feeling unwell. You're going to start wanting to act on your defect of character, and before you know it, you will tap on symptoms, maybe other symptoms like sex, food, and before you know it, you'll be drinking or drugging again. That is the experience that I've seen again and again. People don't relapse because they didn't go to meetings. People do relapse because they do not carry the message, practice the principle, or practice the assets. That's my opinion, and I strongly believe in this.
Every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. We can exercise our willpower along this line all we wish. It is the proper use of the will.
Very interesting. Can you highlight? We can exercise our willpower along this line all we wish. It is the proper use of the will. Step 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. Here on step 10, we're told now we can exercise our willpower. You've got your will back. You have now all the elements to be sober, to stay sober, and to be emotionally sober. We've given you all the tools. You don't have to hand over your will and your life anymore. You've got all the information to stay well.
Much has already been said about receiving strength, inspiration, and direction from Him who has all knowledge and power. If we have carefully followed directions, we have begun to sense the flow of His Spirit into us. To some extent, we have become God conscious.
Can you highlight, please? If we have carefully followed direction in a big book, we have begun to sense some change. You know that change we keep talking about? To some extent, we have become God conscious.
We have begun to develop this vital sixth sense, but we must go further, and that means more action.
Can you please highlight? We have begun to develop this vital sixth sense, but we must go further, and that means more action. So this is just beginning. This is just the start, guys. We are now completing the steps. You're new to all of this. This is just the beginning. The steps is merely one component.
Step 11 suggests prayer and meditation.
Could you please highlight step 11, suggest prayer and meditation. Use your special color. What is the principle of step 11?
Spirituality.
Spirituality, that's right. So just that we're clear, I don't pray because I don't believe in God. I've tried, it never worked. And I don't meditate. I'm not yet able to do meditation, so I've never found my third eye. However, step 11 will also give you a very good practical way of practicing that step, and we're going to go through it right now.
We shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. Better men than we are using it constantly. It works if we have the proper attitude and work it in.
Can you please highlight? It works if we have the proper attitude and work at it.
It would be easy to be vague about this matter, yet we believe we can make some definite and valuable suggestions. When we retire at night, we constructively review our day.
Stop! Can you please highlight? When we retire at night, we constructively review our day. So this is your step 11 evening. Can you write step 11 evening? And if you refer back to our book, the book we've written, we are recovered, in the appendix, you will see appendix 1, which is our gratitude list. And you will see a part that is step 11 night. These are the questions, the exact same question that we're going to be asked now in a big book.
Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Do we owe an apology? Have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed with another person at once? Were we kind and loving toward all? What could we have done better? Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time? Or were we thinking of what we could do for others? Of what we could pack into the stream of life?
Okay, stop. Can you please highlight different color? Were we resentful, one color, selfish, another color, dishonest, another color, afraid, another color? Do we owe an apology, another color? Have we kept something to ourselves which should have been discussed with another person at once, another color? Were we kind and loving toward all, another color? What could have we done better, another color? Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time, or were we thinking of what we could do for others, or what we could pack into the stream of life? These are the questions, and when I go to bed at night, I do my gratitude list. 10 things, very simple, that I'm grateful for in that day. And in the evening, I look at my step 11, and I'm answering all of those questions as honestly as I can. For me, this is my moment of meditation and prayer. I don't pray, I don't get on my knees, and I don't meditate. But when I'm in my bed by myself, I'm able to be honest and do that little exercise, which is really, really good.
But we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, for that would diminish our usefulness to others. After making our review, we ask God's forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken.
Okay, can you please highlight? After making our review, we ask God's forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken. So when I do my step 11 and my gratitude list, I'm able to be at peace with myself. And I look at the assets and my defect of character and the principle, and I'm writing down how I practice some of the principle and my assets today. The one that I chose the night before, we're going to get to that right now. And then I'm realizing, okay, did I practice them or did I not practice them? If I failed, how did I fail them? And I write it down, and then I know if I need to make an amend to somebody or what I need to do to actually make it right, what are the mistakes.
On awakening, let us think about the 24 hours ahead. We consider our plans for the day. Before we begin, we ask God to direct our thinking, especially that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonest, or self-seeking motives.
That's right. Can you please highlight? On awakening, this is your step 11 morning part. Let us think about the 24 hours ahead. We consider our plan for the day. Before we begin, we ask God the solution to direct our thinking, especially asking that it may be divorced from and highlighting a different color, self-pity, and another color, dishonest or self-seeking motives. So in the morning, what I do, I write down 2 principles and 2 assets that I will try to practice. I share that in a little group on WhatsApp. You can just write it, you can try to remind yourself, or as it was discussed today, using some little stone, that way you can write your defect of character and the asset at the back, and other stones, another color, where you have all the principle written on it. And you can choose 2 stones that are the assets and 2 stones that are the principle. And you have them in your pocket and you can remind yourself of these.
Under these conditions, we can employ our mental faculties with assurance, for after all, God gave us brains to use. Our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when our thinking is cleared of wrong motives.
Can you please highlight? Under this condition, we can employ our mental faculties with assurance that after all, God gave us brain to use. Our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when our thinking is clear of wrong motive. You do not have to hand over your will anymore. You've been given your will back and your thinking back. Just use the simple tool that we have in order to remain sane.
In thinking about our day, we may face indecision. We may not be able to determine which course to take. Here we ask God for inspiration, an intuitive thought or a decision. We relax and take it easy. We don't struggle. We are often surprised how the right answers come after we have tried this for a while. What used to be the hunch or the occasional inspiration gradually becomes a working part of the mind.
Can you please highlight all of this? Here we ask the solution for inspiration and intuition, thought or decision. We relax and take it easy. We don't struggle. We are often surprised how the right answers come after we have tried this for a while. What used to be the hunch or the occasional inspiration gradually becomes a working part of the mind. And there is an analogy of the car. You know, when I was a young driver and I started to drive, I was a little bit scared, the traffic light, the pedestrians and the other cars around. And within a few months, I realized I was going from A to Z, and I couldn't even remember how I went from A to Z. It's because with practice, it became automatic. The more you're going to practice the principle and your assets, the more automatic it will become.
Being still inexperienced and having just made conscious contact with God, it is not probable that we are going to be inspired at all times.
Can you please highlight? Being still inexperienced and having just made conscious contact with God, it is not probable that we are going to be inspired all the time. You're going to make mistakes. But in the evening, you have a chance to look at your mistakes. You have a chance to make it right the following day.
We might pay for this presumption in all sorts of absurd actions and ideas. Nevertheless, we find that our thinking will, as time passes, be more and more on the plane of inspiration. We come to rely upon it.
Can you highlight? Nevertheless, we find that our thinking will, as time passes, be more and more on the plane of inspiration. We come to rely upon it. You've got your will back now. Rely on it.
We usually conclude the period of meditation with a prayer that will be shown all through the day what our next step is to be, that we will be shown, that we be given whatever we need to take care of such problems. We ask especially for freedom from self-will and are careful to make no requests for ourselves only. We may ask for ourselves, however, if others will be helped. We are careful never to pray for our own selfish ends. Many of us have wasted a lot of time doing that, and it doesn't work. You can easily see why. If circumstances warrant, we ask our wives or friends to join us in morning meditation. If we belong to a religious denomination which requires a definite morning devotion, we intend to do that also. If not members of religious bodies, we sometimes select and memorize a few set prayers which emphasize the principles we have been discussing.
Can you please highlight this? If not members of religious bodies, we sometimes select and memorize a few set prayers which emphasize the principle we have been discussing. So if you're not part of a member of a religious bodies, it means that you're not religious. So it means also you might not want to have prayers in your handbag. So you remember in your step 3, your declaration. I said to you, if you didn't like that declaration, you could make your own. Think about using your own declaration. Live in a solution, not in a problem.
There are many helpful books also. Suggestions about these may be obtained from one's priest, minister or rabbi. Be quick to see where religious people are right. Make use of what they offer. As we go through the day, we pause when agitated or doubtful and ask for the right thought or action.
Okay, can you highlight please? As we go through the day, we pause when agitated or doubtful and ask for the right thought or action. Think about the principle, think about your assets.
We constantly remind ourselves we are no longer running the show, humbly saying to ourselves many times each day, "Thy will be done."
Can you highlight? We constantly remind ourselves we're no longer running the show, humbly saying to ourselves many times each day, "Thy will be done." And here it's a little bit, controversial again, but we recovered. We are now being given our will and our thinking back. So literally, yes, I am running the show. I just need to remind myself of the spiritual principle of my assets in order to be getting myself back on track when I lose a little bit of, when I'm getting a little bit anxious in a day, if you wish.
We are then in much less danger of excitement, fear, anger, worry, self-pity or foolish decisions. We become much more efficient. We do not tire so easily, for we are not burning up energy foolishly as we did when we were trying to arrange life to suit ourselves. It works, it really does.
Can you highlight? It works, it really does. So what does work? The design for living works, it really does. That's right.
We alcoholics are undisciplined, so we let God discipline us the simple way we have just outlined.
So can you please highlight this? I really don't like the word discipline. We alcoholics are undisciplined, that's right, we're definitely undisciplined. But what we do, we're going to be using the recovery program, the structure. We're going to use that structure in a simple way that has been outlined.
But this is not all. There is action and more action.
Can you highlight? But this is not all. There is action and more action.
Faith without works is dead.
Can you highlight? Faith without works is dead.
The next chapter is entirely devoted to step 12.
Okay, so we've completed step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Step 1, we admitted we had a problem. Step 2, we came to believe there might be a solution, or we were just willing to believe there might be a solution to our problem. Step 3, we made a decision to live in a solution and not in a problem. Then we looked at how to bring the solution to light, and then we showed you how it works. In how it works, we did our step 4. In our step 4, we acknowledge quite a lot of our thoughts, what we used to do, how we used to do it. In step 6 and 7, we also discovered our defect of character, our shortcomings. And then on our step 9, we realized that we need to make some amends, and we make the amends when we are ready. We can't make the amends until we are ready. We make sure that we're ready to make them, and we make direct amends. Then when we studied our step 10, we realized that actually step 10 means that the problem has been removed. We have gained our will back, we have our thinking back, and we have a design for living. We are recovered. This is what it means to be recovered. The obsession of the mind has been removed. However, the physical allergy is still there. On step 10 also, we are reminded that throughout the day, we need to acknowledge when we act on our defect of character, when we are a little bit angry, when we are resentful, we acknowledge all of this. So our step 10 is to be done throughout the day. It's like step 4 to 9 throughout the day. Step 11, we are told to make conscious contact with a solution, with a God of our own understanding through prayers and meditation. For me, I don't pray and I don't meditate. So the way that I actually make this happen is at night. In step 11, we have a set of questions. I answer this question. And then we have a morning part of the step 11. And in the morning, I just set myself to try to practice 2 principles and 2 assets. Now we have quite a lot of principles we should be practicing every day. We now have all the assets, the 10 assets that goes with our 10 defect of character. And now we should be used to starting to practice all of this with our gratitude list. Now we're going to look at the components of the 12 steps. The 12 steps now is about the carrying the message to other people. It's about service. The 12th step has 3 components. Component A, we've had a spiritual awakening, a personality change, or a psychic change. B, carry the message. And the 3rd component is we practice the principle and the assets. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we practice the principles in all of our affairs, and we carry the message to other suffering addicts out there. Okay? Go ahead.
Working with others. Practical experience.